Hello and welcome to Rails Run as we preview Australia's Weight for Age Championship, the Cox Plate. A capacity field of 14 contests this year's big race. It's a brilliant 3-year-old contingent up against some tried and tested veterans. But before the Cox Plate, there's Group 1 action on a Friday night with the sprinters in the Manikato Stakes. Joining me today to find all the winners are Alan Eskander from Betstar and Andrew Eddy from The Age. Welcome, gents.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Andrew, I've probably seen better fields in a Cox Plate, but when it comes to even fields, this one probably takes the cake.
I think you're right, Dan, and that's probably going to be reflected in the horse that I'm tipping. I'm tipping an outsider here. Sorry, Alan, you probably won't like that, but $21 into now, number 1 Shootout. I've just gone back through through his form again, and you think of the history of the Cox Plate. It's won by those tough geldings, sit on the pace. He ticks every box for me, and his form's actually been really good. I mean, he carried 58 in the Epsom last start. In a handicap, he gave 6 kilos to Fat Al. You can forget about that run. He was left flat-footed. I'm sure he's been trained for the 2,000 metres. He's flown right under the radar here, and I just love him. I love him each way.
Well, $19 is juicy. Well, what is the market doing, Alan? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really even field, as you touched on, and there's a tale of a few stories in it as well. Like, I mean, normally we talk about the 3-year-olds and how prominent they'll be. We've got 3 3-year-olds, and they're all in the market, and then you've got, if you're not a believer in 3-year-olds, you've got the rest of the field with some real chances. But the favourite is Piero. It has been for some time now. Piero's been $4 out to $4.40 this week. The second favourite's Green Moon, $5 chance. We then go down to Ocean Park. It's $6. More Joyous, $10, along with All Too Hard, $10, and Prassier is also at $10. So the market is very even. Shootout, we've got it at a $19 chance, and we've got its second pick. We think it's easily the best roughie in the field. So if you can't find one at the pointy end of the market, then go to $19 and back it each way, and hope you run a place, and then be pleasantly surprised if you win the race.
Well, Andrew, you've already sort of revealed to us that Shootout's where you're leaning. How do you see the race panning out, and what are your other tips?
Well, I think it's going to be a mad scramble of the first turn, as it always is in this sort of race. That's why I like Shootout. I like Hugh Bowman because he's the ultimate competitor. He's going to push up from 4 and probably get the run of the race 3rd or 4th, I think. The 3-year-olds, well, they're trained by Gay, and they're 3-year-olds with no weight in a Cox Plate. What are they going to do? They're going to go forward. No doubt they'll dictate the speed. I think the 3-year-olds, that's what we'll be looking for them. And I just think that Shootout will get the lovely smother in behind them, and I just can't see how they're going to run him down.
Confident about it. That 20-1 chance. I love it. It's fantastic.
Which way are you leaning, Alan? The Betstar team's had a pretty good record in this race over the years.
Yeah, we've had a bit of luck this spring, but we're leaning towards Ocean Park. We just think that its form thus far this preparation has been fantastic. It's 3 for 3 for Group 1 starts, and will be the hardest to beat. Shootout for all the reasons that Andrew mentioned there. We're picking second. Piero could just be a sensational horse, and depends on your take on its last run. I mean, there's lots of positive merit, or you can say, hey, the horse didn't win, but we're saying there's lots of merit in its last run. Piero for 3rd, and then Sincero for 4th.
Well, moving now to Friday night's Manikato Stakes. Alan, I hear you're pretty confident about taking on the short price favourite Buffering.
Yeah, we are. It's been $2.40 into $2.10, and it's just starting to get to a price now where I think you've just got to take it on as a bookmaker. I understand that, with Black Caviar out and with Haylist out, easily could take the mantle as the best sprinter in the land, but I just don't think in this field, which has got a little bit of depth to it, $2.10 is the right price. So we'll be taking it on.
Okay. And your tips for the race?
Our tips for the race are Bell Sprinter to beat Buffering. In 3rd position, Lone Rock, and in 4th position, We're Gonna Rock.
Look, it's going to be a fascinating race no matter what, Andrew. How do you see it panning out, and what are you tipping?
Well, I think the barrier draws meant that Buffering's drawn 1. He's going to have to jump and run, even though he took the trail when he was at Caulfield a couple of weeks ago, had a lovely run there. But I think he's going to have to boot up. Barrier 1 can be a nightmare stable, barrier draw sometimes. So I'm a bit like Alan. I'm thinking he's a tad vulnerable, certainly at those sort of odds. And I think C. Siren, the mare of John O'Shea's, she looked beautiful the other morning. I saw her, and first up, I think she's definitely been set for this first up.
She was a star in Brisbane last preparation, wasn't she?
She was, yeah, and she's been held up just for this one first up run at the Manikato, and I think she'll be able to finish over the top of Buffering, who's really going to have to work to hold that inside position. So I'm thinking an upset on the cards too.
Okay, well, let's round things up with the best of the weekend. Now, Alan, got to say, give you a wrap here. You've tipped so far Shawadi, $15, your bet of the day. Saluted. Last week it was Light in the Night, $3.80. Saluted. 2 out of 2. What's going to be 3 out of 3?
Well, for 3 out of 3, we're trying for a $4.80 chance. So in terms of price, somewhere in between the two. It's race 6, number 9, Midas Touch. It just kept coming in the Caulfield Stakes and was a really good run in that race. It's out to 2,500 metres, which will suit it ideally. And I think it'll just be too good for him. So race 6, number 9, Midas Touch.
Well, finally to you, Fast Eddie. I've had to remortgage my house this past week, given I had the lot on limes last weekend. Just couldn't get there for us.
That, yes.
A little bit sour about it, So I want you to redeem yourself. What's your best bet of the weekend?
Best bet of the weekend, I think at Moonee Valley on Saturday. It's chosen moment. Race 4, number 1. It's really should have won a couple of weeks ago over the same course, and it's in a race of a lot of speed. It'll sit back and flash home and win.
Well, that's it for this week, punters. We'll be back next week with our preview to one of the great days on the Australian racing calendar, Victoria Derby Day. Until then, good punting.